Some of you very excited right now. Some of you probably pretty upset. And for other people who are probably not watching this video, they might have no idea what's going on. It's still kind of shocking just how many people have absolutely no idea what's going on sometimes when you just talk to random people on the streets. That's what Audit on the Street has showed me. Either way, today it was announced, finally happening, some student loan forgiveness. $10,000, $20,000, how does this impact you? That's a very important question, though it's honestly pretty basic. It's a pretty basic plan, pretty basic framework, but let's go into it and see how this actually impacts people on a day-to-day basis. In 2020, about 90% of those who were employed in the United States made less than $125,000 a year. And good news for you, less than $125,000 people, which I am included in that, $10,000 of forgiveness. If you're in support of that, of course. If not, you're probably upset. And I'm not going to make my opinion known on this. It's, pretty broad. I actually see both sides really well, and I've covered that topic in a different video, and I'll go over some of that here as well. So I'm actually kind of torn on the issue. But either way, as someone who makes less than $125,000 a year, and as someone who does have public student loans who I don't want to pay off because it just doesn't make sense to pay off these federal student loans with a low interest rate when I could put money into markets that give me a higher rate of return, obviously I will take the $10,000 and I will not cry about having my net worth increase all of a sudden by $10,000 without me having to move a finger. But do you make less than $125,000 as an individual or less than $250,000 as a jointly filed couple? And at the same time you qualified for Pell Grants when you were taking out student loans? Well, congratulations, $20,000 forgiven. Very exciting for you and your increase of $20,000 in your net worth today. But there's a lot of other important things that came out with today's announcement that affect things like income-based repayments, the deferment that a lot of us who have federal student loans are taking advantage of right now, and some other important factors that I will cover right now. Number one on the list, deferment. It's been extended and extended and extended and extended, but it's done. No more extensions. Except for the one right now. Okay, it was extended one more time. But at the end of the year, after the end of the year, starting in mid-January, payments are going to start again. Interest is going to start being accrued again. So for now, I'm going to keep taking that money that would go towards those minimum monthly payments, and I'm going to be investing it in markets that will give me a better return than paying off these low interest student loans. But, if you wanted to start saving up some money on the side or start paying off that principal now, there's definitely nothing wrong with that either. I just prefer to make my investing decisions based on math instead of emotions. And the second part of their plan that they announced today comes down to the actual forgiveness aspect of it. So you make less than $125,000 a year on your taxes last year for 2021, or as a jointly filed couple less than $250,000, then congratulations, $10,000 is forgiven. If you took advantage of Pell Grants and qualified for that, then congratulations, $20,000 is forgiven. And that is a wonderful boost in your net worth almost immediately. It'll still take a little bit of time for that forgiveness to be taken into account and actually, be reflected on your account, but that will happen shortly as long as you filed your taxes last year and the IRS has all that information. And if there's any trouble with that, they said that you're going to have to just fill out some paperwork that'll be released online within a couple weeks, and you'll be able to see if you can qualify there. If you have $5,000 in federal student loans and they're forgiving $10,000, that $5,000 will be forgiven and you're not getting a check for $5,000. That's just kind of the end of the story, $5,000 and gone. Be thankful. But they are saying in this release that about 8 million Americans are going to have this debt automatically forgiven. And again, like I said, if that's something that doesn't happen automatically, you can fill out some paperwork that is going to be available online pretty shortly, and you'll be able to request the cancellation there. And for those who are employed by the government or any nonprofit groups, you're actually qualified to get almost all of your federal student loans forgiven now. There haven't been great details on this specific subject in today's announcement, but I'm expecting more information soon. But actually the biggest change in today's announcement for the current system is the repayment plan known as the income-based repayment. Typically, I find this plan to be absolutely horrible because it just accrues a ton of interest over time, and pretty much anyone you talk to who's been in student loans for decades and decades and are complaining about how much student loans they have were in an income-based repayment program, and the interest just ballooned and ballooned and ballooned, and there was nothing they can do about the hundreds of thousands of dollars that they have in federal student loans. Federal. federal student loans. But for the income-based repayment people, it was 10% of your discretionary income that would have to go to it on a monthly basis. That is now being brought down to 5%. Now, okay, you're giving 5%, but the interest still continues to accrue, probably even worse because you're spending less of your income on it, so all the balances just continue to go up, right? But no, not anymore. As long as those minimum payments are made for the 5% of their discretionary income, no interest will be accruing. This is going to help tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands of people who've gotten themselves locked in these high interest or even low interest but high balance income-based student loan repayment programs that have been destroying lives for decades. And after 10 years of paying these minimum payments on the income-based repayment program, if you have $12,000 or less of federal student loans, it'll now be forgiven. Now you have to remember that these are guidelines that will have to be enforced by the Department of Education, and every 4 years we have a presidential election and the president fills out the cabinet with someone to lead the Department of Education, and if that president and that person running the department do not want to enforce this policy, they don't have to because this is not a law being passed by Congress, but a guideline being given by the president. So if this is something you like, be happy now, and if this is something you don't like, the fact that presidents tend to change at least every 8 years between different political parties, I guess just wait. Now the fact is, and I've gone over this using reliable sources in other videos, today the return on investment when it comes to a college degree is typically worth it, especially if you did community college for 2 years and then transferred to a 4-year institution after that. Of course, many degrees are better than others. Even less marketable degrees are still giving a good return on investment depending on the student loans you took out. So with that, the question on one side of this country is certainly asking for people who invested their money and time to get these degrees that give them an upper hand in the workers' economy, should they be getting relief when many other people are suffering? For example, 46.8% of Americans who make less than $30,000 a year. It's definitely an interesting question. Then we also have to remember that 50% of all student loan debt is held by the top 2 quintiles of income groups. However, on the other side of the coin, black borrowers have 50% more student loans than the average white borrower, and women have more than men on average as well. So many people argue that this could help balance the scales for the inequity we see in our culture between different racial groups. But what about inflation? There's certainly been some news about that recently. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget said earlier this year that if all student loans were forgiven, it would increase inflation by 0.1 to 0.5 percentage points. And seeing that in June we had over 9% year-over-year inflation, that's really not that crazy. Not that we want to see any more inflation anyway, even if it's just a small amount. But then again, that was forgiving all student loans, and this is just forgiving kind of a small percentage. The thing that bothers me is that we are in a place where 6.4 million Americans who are in the retirement age still owe a lot of student loan debt. 6.4 million Americans who should be retiring right now. That's crazy. How many years of work can they actually do to pay these student loans off? That's why I'm honestly torn on this issue. I don't do politics on this channel. I feel like this is the closest I actually get to it, but there are good arguments on both sides. There's also the fact that 25% of all those who have student loans make less than $20,000 a year. Even if student loans give people an upper hand in the overall workers' economy, that statistic is still insane. That's about 25% of their pre-tax income, and of course we would rather have them be spending 25% of their pre-tax income on goods and services in the economy. I've interviewed plenty of people on my financial audit series and my Audit on the Street series as well who are being crippled by student loan debts. But at the same time, many of these people take a lot of their income and spend it on cars they can't afford, apartments that are way nicer than they need, and going out to eat constantly. They could be paying their student loans off quicker if they wanted to. So should the taxpayer be paying it off for them? But on the other side of it, for people who are just 18 and have never had any financial education because our country absolutely sucks at that, and they're being shoved contracts down their throat in order to go to different colleges, and teachers are pressuring them to go to different colleges, and we're like, hey, sign your name here, we'll give you unlimited amounts of money in order to go to college, 18-year-old who knows nothing about money. Should we really be blaming them? even their parents. Most people don't know what they're doing when it comes to the personal finances in this country, and I think this channel has shown that and proved it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And even if they should still be held responsible, because yes, this is a contract that they signed, should people that were 18 really be locked into these high interest rate debts? Why not cap it at 2% just so it keeps up with inflation, in normal times? But what is this solving anyway when we do this, right? I mean, yeah, it helps me and it's gonna help a lot of people right now. We can all agree on that even if we dislike it. We can agree that it's helping people right now. But what is this solving for the future? Cost of college has only gone up and up and up because the federal government will give out limited amounts of money to any college student and family who wants to go to college for any degree, no matter the return on investment that degree will provide. And that's not changing anytime soon. They mentioned absolutely nothing about that. So they'll still be shoveling over millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars for people to go to any university that they want to study anything that they want to. And those students will be locked in these bad debts just as they were before. And are we just going to forgive them again? So that's why I'm torn. Good arguments on both sides. I can see the logic on both sides. I am on the middle, and that's where we stand today. So I really want to know your thoughts on this. Is it actually going to be helping you? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it, and why? Let me know in the comments below, and we can continue the conversation there. If you enjoy this kind of content, feel free to join my private Discord and give this video a like so that YouTube recommends it to more people. Subscribe and stick around for more. Thanks.